something is fishy. Servus Freunde, my name is Jimmy Cage and in this review I will try to say the movie's title as little as possible. Brochevarevarura is a 2019 Telugu language crime comedy that was written and directed by Vivek Athreya. It centers around the three R's: Rahul, Rocky and Rambo, played by Sree Vishnu, Priyadarshi and Rahul Ramakrishna, three good-for-nothing best friends who still try to finish high school. At the beginning of the film they meet Nivetha, played by Nivetha, a girl who has as little interest in studying as they do, but she's also the daughter of the school's principal, who is a very strict or even cruel man. And our four protagonists soon come up with a plan that involves the fake kidnapping of Nivetha, which of course won't go without some consequences. Now, before we enter this familiar feeling coming-of-age world, we are actually being introduced to two other characters. The aspiring young filmmaker Vishal, played by Satyadev Kancharana, and the star actress Shalini, played by Nivetha Pethuraj. It is only when Vishal starts to narrate his story idea to Shalini that we change to the film's main story about the three friends and a girl. But there's actually still one more early story beat before the opening credits that shows us three petty criminals who are about to kidnap a young woman. So you wonder how this event might be connected. Maybe it was somehow the inspiration for Vishal? I don't really want to spoil much about the story in this review, because this is a movie that very much entertains through its wild and surprising story that keeps changing directions and isn't all what it appears to be at first. In our exploration of Indian cinema, one thing has become quite obvious. There seems to be a really big appetite, at least in the commercial cinema, for twists and turns. Of course, you will find many films from all around the world that tell stories with big twists. But in many Indian movies that we have seen so far, it almost feels like a necessity to surprise the audience with some big revelation. And now it almost seems logical that M. Night Shyamalan, who is of course famous for his twists, is from India. I just wonder how that all began. Was it always a part of Indian cinema? Became it more prevalent in the last decades? I don't know. But I do know that Brochevarevarura is a really charming and wonderfully lighthearted film that easily puts a smile on your face while watching. Vivek Athreya does a nice job bringing these different characters to life and leading us through this fun and energetic story that's full of unexpected little twists and turns. While it's mostly about Rahul, who's charmingly portrayed by Sree Vishnu, it's really more of an ensemble film and each one adds a little something to it. And the different dynamics work really well. Be it Rahul and his two friends, him and his father, the refreshingly understated romance between him and Nivetha, which is actually more of a friendship, or the dynamic between Nivetha's father Ramakrishna, played by Srikanth Iyyengar, and his cop friend Sree, played by Harsha Vardhan. Sree was actually one of the funniest characters, because he's somehow completely wrong and also completely right about the events that take place in the movie, and Harsha Vardhan's comedic delivery is absolutely on point.
Something is fishy.
In general, the dialogues are very funny, which is something I could even pick up on through the subtitles, because the back and forth are quite snippy and the timing is so sharp. Be it between Rahul and his friends, for example when he has lost his cell phone and blames them, or when Ramakrishna is visiting Rahul's father, played by Shivaji Raja, who keeps repeating that they are a decent family. Nivetha is also doing a wonderful job as Nivetha. Her character doesn't really talk that much, especially at first, but when she does, it always has impact. Be it for the comedy or for some of the darker, more serious stuff, which the movie is also able to balance well. The stakes increase a lot in the second half, and the film does a decent job in giving us just enough plans and small moments to hold everything together. For example, there's this one nice little phone call between the director Vishal and his father, which I think is enough to give us at least a small connection there that it resonates later on when something is happening. Because of the fake kidnapping and all the unexpected little incidents and shenanigans, it reminded me a little bit of the 2013 Tamil movie Zodu Kavum, which is also a little bit similar in tone. But I think that one was still more of a dark comedy. And while Brochevarevarura, which by the way translates to Who Shall Save the Day, has some darker moments, it's also really lighthearted and quite chill. It's a commercial crowd pleaser for sure, but it's also not like those super commercial, over-the-top Telugu movies, if that makes sense. Which I think also shows in the refreshing lack of a real romance, and that the soundtrack feels also rather unobtrusive. It mostly plays in the background and nicely connects things that are happening to our characters. The music was composed by Vivek and it fits quite well to the film's lighthearted and fun vibe. The cinematography by Satyadev is also fine and it's just an easy, diverting film to watch. Like I said earlier, the most fun or most excitement probably stems from the film's surprises. And I would say that the script is pretty clever, but at the same time, not clever enough. Now, how does that make sense? I really enjoyed how it is able to intrigue us, how it introduces us to these characters, who they are, and how it makes us wonder how the different sides are connected and playing out. And when things get out of hand or take unexpected twists, it's exciting. But I also think that it goes a little bit too far when it comes to all the coincidences, especially towards the end. Some things, characters and story beats are connected really well, but certain developments and especially how all our parties are finding each other in the end are so dependent on coincidences that it comes across as lazy and contrived. And I think that definitely takes away from the climax. This also applies to the character arcs. On one hand, it's funny and refreshing that Sree just tells Mitra's father what's up, but on the other, it's also a bit sudden, and unfortunately that also applies to how Rahul is behaving at the very end, which almost comes across as a little lecture for Mitra, which I found to be ill-placed in that specific moment. So in German I'd say, Brochevarevarura ist eine sehr charmante, lustige und unbeschwerte und größtenteils clevere kleine Krimikomödie mit liebevollen Charakteren und einer Geschichte, die immer wieder überrascht. I give Brochevarevarura 7 out of 10. It's more like 7.3, but I don't do that.
I don't think I'll be able to do it. Thank you for the offer. All the best.
Alright, that's it like always. Comment below and let me know what you think about Brochevarevarura. You can hit me up on Twitter, Instagram and Letterboxd, and also on Patreon simply at TheJimmyCage. And if you enjoyed this episode, please give me a thumbs up, share, subscribe, whatever you like. And make sure you hit that bell for all I have to tell.